Israel's prime minister says his country will fight against a global push for the recognition of a Palestinian state. His comments coming earlier today before the announcements by the Canadian and British prime minister. Netanyahu has accused countries who recognize a Palestinian state as rewarding, quote, Hamas terrorism. CTV News political commentator and former NDP leader Tom Mulcair joins us now with more. Tom, great to see you this afternoon. Thanks for your time.
Good to be with you, Akshay.
This is a major announcement this Sunday from the Prime Minister. It was expected, but the fact it's come now. Speak to us about the significance of this moment.
Well, I think that it's the last part of that sentence that's the most important at this moment, because the timing of it can be a little bit perplexing when you look at the fact that we're heading towards the second anniversary of Hamas's absolutely brutal terrorist attack on Israeli citizens, many of whom are still held hostages there. And there's been no discussion of this in Parliament. It's just an announcement by the government on its own. So yes, as part of Canadian foreign policy, the aspiration of a two-state solution has been there for decades, but coming as it does now, it can only be seen, especially when you read what's in there. I mean, it's a very long rap sheet against Israel, and Canadians, like people around the world, are looking in horror at what's been happening to civilians in Gaza right now, and I think that it's an answer largely to that. But longer term, how does this play out practically? What does it mean? And you go through the one-pager that we got from the Prime Minister today, and you can sense that a lot of this is political. It's answering Canadians' concerns, but I'm not sure that long-term there are not going to be a lot of roadblocks in here, and I'm not sure that they've been thinking this one through completely.
You know, Tom, since you spoke about the statement and how the Prime Minister has spoken about Israel too, very, very critical, and I want to read a part of that statement for our viewers. The statement goes on to say that its sustained assault, which is Israel's sustained assault in Gaza, has killed tens of thousands of civilians, displaced well over 1 million people, and caused a devastating and preventable famine in violation of international law. It is now the avowed policy of the current Israeli government that there will be no Palestinian state. Tom, your view on such a critical statement, what does it do to relationships between Israel and Canada moving forward?
It's going to be difficult. And these are things that stay on the record for a long time.
Yeah.
Canada's always been seen as fair-minded, as being able to look at very complex situations like this one and be positive, constructive, come up with solutions. This is strong, but it's also a bit facile. It's easier said than done. Concretely, how does this play out in the current situation? So there's a line in there where the Canadian government is affirming that Hamas will play no role in a future Palestinian government. Really? We get to decide that? And the war that's going on right now, and especially the part about the famine, is unforgivable for what's happening to civilians. We can all agree on that. But at the same time, Hamas has the avowed intention of destroying the state of Israel, and was getting pretty darn good at equipping itself to at least inflict serious harm, if not that end goal. So what are Israel's options faced with that? I know that the Netanyahu government can be very off-putting, and that's easy to understand. But at the same time, I think the Canadian foreign policy has always been a step above. Now, the fact that we're doing it in lockstep with Great Britain and Australia, and we're being told early in the week with France, means that long-standing allies of Israel are coming together and working together to push a strong message. And I think it's a message targeting an individual, less than the state of Israel, because I can't imagine any way that Canada, France, Australia, Great Britain would go against that. But again, Akshay, the old saying, you know, the devil's in the details. I mean, it's easier said than done. And let's all hope for peace and pray for peace. But I'm not sure that this is necessarily the best step in the right direction at this time.
Okay, I'm going to come to you more in terms of what do we do with the United States and their alignment in this particular issue. But before that, Tom, your view on what the Conservatives have issued just at the beginning of the hour. The Conservatives also coming out with a very strong statement saying that PM Carney's priority is creating a Hamas state that will reward terrorists for raping civilians, taking hostages, oppressing Palestinians, and launching a war. What's your take at how the Conservatives are hitting at the Prime Minister for his declaration today?
That's a very cleverly drafted statement by the Conservatives, because it does include a reference to a demilitarized, terror-free democratic state. So again, just like the Canadian statement from Prime Minister Carney, it's aspirational because you don't actually get to enforce any of that stuff. But they're being super prudent on the Conservative side. They're sending a clear signal to people in Canada who care a great deal about the state of Israel and its survival, sending a clear statement that they, first and foremost, are on the side of Israel. But they're very careful how they worded that. I think that's a masterpiece of political communication, because they've saved themselves a lot of territory, because this will wind up being debated. There will be motions. There will be discussions in the House. So I think the Conservatives have left themselves quite a bit of leeway, while at the same time clearly communicating that they're on the side of Israel overall.
Okay, and now let's talk about how this is a step away from alignment with the United States. We're talking about more than 140 countries that have now recognized Palestine as a state. You think this could potentially complicate relations more between Canada and US, or it's a reality that we'll have to just deal with?
One of the things that's always been tricky for Canada, or for decades, is the fact that we have a foreign policy that is so aligned with the Americans. The minute we're off, it really sticks out like a sore thumb. When we decided not to go into Iraq, that was a strong decision by then Prime Minister Chrétien, and it was noticed. Same thing with the Vietnam War. So we are very much in lockstep with them. We have security arrangements that show that the communality of our interests. But the Americans, especially with Trump, overstepped their bounds. They actually threatened Canada, saying that it was going to be difficult for us to have a better trade deal with them if we recognize the state of Palestine. And that just gets the backup of any Canadian, no matter where they are on this issue, as if Donald Trump gets to dictate to us what our foreign policy is. So that's a big mistake that the Americans made under Trump. But at the same time, there is the simple reality that the Americans play a key role there, and we are close to them, and we're going to have to try to find some way to make this other than a simple aspirational hope statement. And let's all hope, let's all pray. We want a peaceful solution.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure that this one pager from Prime Minister Carney takes into account all the nuances here. And I think that some of this can be a bit of an illusion, and there's a lot of hard work to be done if we ever want to get further down that road. The West Bank, the problems right now there are huge. The settlements, the addition of new settlements, the illegality of what's being done there, that all has to be addressed. But again, the Israeli government right now the state of Israel should not be confused with Benjamin Netanyahu. The state of Israel is perennial, and Netanyahu's there for a short time, especially as of now. So I think that we should bet longer term and have that longer term approach and vision of our relationship with the state of Israel.
Okay, CTV News political commentator, former NDP leader Tom, thank you for your expertise.
All the best,
always
Akshay.
appreciate it. Thank you.